Okay, so I'm going to open up, it's the course project CS280 course project template. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And you can see here that it has a few tabs. We have the project info worksheet, the measures tab, and the data tab. So we'll be filling out information for all three of these things. So what we're doing is taking your course project idea. Remember we did the cause and effect diagram, and breaking it down into the measures. How are we going to collect data on this weird thing that you're working on, trying to improve yourself and get better, measure how you're getting better over time? Well, there's some data that you're going to need to collect, like the outcome or whatever your goal is. Like in my example, in my case, I'm trying to get back in shape or in better shape and lose some weight. So that's my goal. So we'll be working through that example today. But whatever your goal is, whether you're trying to increase the amount of hours of sleep, the quality of sleep, or be more organized, or some of you have businesses, it's all the same. The same approach. So the first thing that I'm going to do is fill this information in on the first tab. So you're going to put in your first and last name. So, whoops, make sure you're in the right cell. I'm Paul DeYoung, and I will be your instructor today. Put in your section. So this is section 303. 3. Four is my Thursday class and the name of the project. My project name is Fitness and Weight Optimization. It's not weight loss, it's optimization. In business, you have to have a cool word for something. Like, you're not trying to improve something, you're trying to optimize it. Right? That's the buzzword these days. And the current situation, actually what I'm going to do before I start filling in the rest of this information is I need to take a look at my cause and effect diagram. So most of you have completed a cause and effect diagram for your project, and what I'm going to do is just put it here so I can look at it at the same time. And you may want to do that as well. So I'm going to go to my, where did I have this? I think it was here. I happen to have it in one of my presentations. So I'm just going to copy the picture that I have. You all sent me a picture, so you could just do the same thing. So I'm going to copy it and then put it right in my Excel spreadsheet right here. So I'm going to just click on paste. And the picture's there, just depending on the resolution. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller to fit in here. Let's see. I'm going to zoom back in here. If you double click on the picture, like I can get rid of some of this black space down below. I'm going to click on crop and move it up. And that's all that does. So some of you may have to, when you go to, if your picture is saved to a file, if it's not happen to be open, what you'll do is you'll go to Insert, and where's my picture? Over here, Pictures, and depending on where it's at, you would just find it in your appropriate folder. But I don't have mine saved. Actually, I had just copied and pasted it into a PowerPoint presentation, so I just grabbed it from there. So now I can see kind of the big picture of what's going on. Here's my fishbone or cause and effect diagram. You can see here that, let me blow this up a little bit. You can see here that the outcome that I want is to be as fit as possible and to get to my ideal weight. I should have said optimal. And So I'm going to now fill that information in. So current situation, make this a little smaller. Current situation, I'm currently about 20 pounds overweight. So I'm going to put that down here. So it's not optimal. And my desired goal is to, well, it's to be as fit as possible at my age, and to get to my optimal. And it really is not just about weight loss, right? Because if you're exercising and supposedly, lifting weights, you may not necessarily lose weight right away. At least that's what Oprah says, right? She says, don't just look at your weight, look at, your muscle mass and all that. But, all right, so now I have kind of the big picture of the current situation and my desired outcome. Remember, because these are kind of flip sides of the same coin. There's a problem. I'm not where I want to be, but there is a goal of where I do want to be. So that's the other side. And I want to get to the root causes of the problem. And even though we've done a cause and effect diagram, not all of these are really going to be anything that I'm going to change in order to make that improvement, because some of these are going to have a bigger impact, I think, than others. I've done this before. Like, I've gone through a weight loss program and I kind of know what works and what doesn't for me. For you, whatever your outcome is, this may be new. So if it is new, you want to make sure that you really do understand what are the root causes and the things that are going to make it better for you. So I had asked you earlier on with the cause and effect diagram to circle the root causes. I don't have mine circled on here, so I'm just going to do that real quick. Blow this up. Where's my tools here? Over here in shapes, I'm just going to circle. I'm going to use my little circle thing here. So I'm looking at all the causes and effects, and I know what things really are keeping me from getting to my ideal weight. Number one is I like food and I eat too much. I've kind of, in my old age, I kind of figured that out. And so I'm just going to circle that. Oops, that doesn't look good. I covered it up. So the shape fill, I'm going to make no fill. All right. So I'm going to copy that. So I know that's one thing. Another is that I just eat way too much fast food. So I know that's a potential cause. Whoops. So I'm going to grab this guy, put it up here. And actually, I'll just circle both of these things. And I'm a sugar addict. I'm hooked on the white stuff. Or actually, I prefer it in the in brown form, in chocolate form, but whatever form, I like it too much. So that's one of the things. Another is that, I have this busy lifestyle and I need to make more time to make my own meals rather than eating fast food. The reason why I do it is just don't have enough time. I'm busy, always doing something. So that's another potential root cause. So let me just, where's that? Yeah, not on a regular, yeah, no time to cook. There we go. And not on a regular schedule is another reason that's keeping me from getting to my ideal weight. I have this new teaching job, and so I don't have as much free time as I used to. So I got to make time for that. So I'm going to identify these things here. All right, so now I've identified some of the root causes. I'm going to save this file, by the way, and go back out so I can see my whole spreadsheet here, my whole first spreadsheet worksheet. And here are my root causes. So I'm just going to write them down here. So I'm going to put down consuming consuming too many calories is one root cause. Another is too much fast and restaurant food. Too much sugar, I suppose carbs. It's all my mom's fault. I blame her for that. Every time she's a sugar pusher. Every time I used to, she would always have sugar in the house or some kind of form of chocolate. Yeah, and it's not her fault because her mom used to always bring over M&Ms and all that kind of stuff. There was always sugar around. But that's what moms do. They spoil us, don't they? Yeah. So those are kind of the food things, and then it also has to do with I don't have time to cook, so I have less time to cook. My schedule has been whack because I'm now teaching at different times of the day, so I have an irregular exercise schedule, and for whatever reason, my workouts have been lower intensity. Just haven't been working out as long because I just don't have as much time. All right, so these are all the root causes. Now I have to figure out what am I going to change, right? What habits am I going to change in my life, and what habits are you going to change in your lives in order to eliminate those root causes, right? Or to change those. So too many calories. Well, one of the things that I know is portion control, right? That I remember watching this tailor, this old time tailor in Beverly Hills that was like the tailor to the stars. And they asked him like if he knew any secrets about the stars, and he said that he used to be like make the suits for Frank Sinatra and all the Rat Pack guys. And he said that he would tell Frank. He said, Frank, you're putting on a little weight. He said next time you go to the restaurant, don't eat everything that they put on the plate in front of you. Right? You don't have to eat everything there. He said cut it in half. So I've tried that before, and the way that I do it is like if the food's in front of me, I'm on a seafood diet. You know what that is? Yeah, you eat all the food that you see. So I will, if I'm diligent, I'll ask the waiter or the waitress right up front to bring a box, and I'll just cut the food in half and stick it in the box, close the box, and that way I can't see it. That's what works for me. Out of sight, out of mind. And then, otherwise it's like you try to cut it in half and then you keep going for it. And next thing you know, the whole plate's, the whole burrito's gone. Um, anyway, so that's one way to do it, portion control. And that's kind of nice. Then you have something, then you have lunch the next day. So that's one way. In other words, too much fast food restaurant. Well, that's just simply cutting that out. So I'm gonna just cut down um, on the number of meals eaten out. Um, I'm not thinking that it's going to be total. I'm going to cut them all out, right? That's not realistic, but cutting down. I'm going to cut down on sugar and carbs. I don't know how I'm going to do that. Just not going to let my mom come around. Um, Make time, and then so as far as less time to cook, well, I'm just going to make time, all right? So I'm going to make time, which means by by setting my alarm earlier and making my lunch for the day. Yours is going to be different, obviously. Making meals, irregular exercise schedule. How do you fix that if your exercise schedule is irregular? What suggestions do you have? I have an irregular exercise schedule. What should I do in order to fix that? PDCA? What do you mean? Plan the work? Okay, plan them. So put them in my planner, put them on my calendar, right? Okay. Um, put exercise schedule in calendar and plan it. So I should know what I'm doing in advance. Lower intensity workout, so I'll just increase the intensity. So I could do things like, all right, instead of riding my bike, have you ever seen, is that progressive insurance with Flow? This is when she's got her alter ego, that cousin, where she goes to visit her at the house, and she's on the bike, and she's blasting her quads, and she's barely riding. You're not doing hardly anything. She's checking her iPhone. So I'm gonna have to increase the intensity, and then also just the length of whatever I'm doing. Maybe if I'm riding the bike for 20 minutes, maybe I should crank it up to 25, and then 30 minutes, and then until people get mad at me and want to use it. All right, so increase the intensity and the length of the workout. So now I have some solutions. And by the way, your solutions are going to be dependent on what you know about yourself, what you know about what works. Not everything works the same for everybody, and not every solution is as effective. So you're going to have to figure that out. And by the way, they don't always work out, and you're going to use data to see which works and which doesn't work. That's one of the reasons why we're doing this project. All right, so questions on the kind of the project info, the cover sheet here. So this, by the way, is, I want you to use this template, and you're going to be adding worksheets to your workbook over time as we start to do different elements of your course project. All right, questions? All right, so I'll give you time, by the way, to go back to this, and you can work on your own projects. So now we're going to go to the measures worksheet, and now we have the two sets of measures. Why two sets of measures? Well, because I'll answer my own question. The reason is because there's an outcome. That's that thing that you're trying to improve. You have to measure that, right? In the case of, if I'm trying to get to my optimal weight, what would I use to measure that? Weight, right? So my weight, my daily weight, I can measure that. It's easy to do. And then fitness, I'll have to think about that. Well, we can measure that. So those are kind of the outcomes, right? I want to get to my optimal weight. I want to get in better shape. But those are the things that happen as a result of some behavior that I'm going to change, right? I'm going to need to do some things in order to get there. So there are things like, cutting back on my calories, right? The amount of food that I'm eating, increasing the intensity of my workout. And so all those things can be tracked and measured as well. In fact, by doing that, it's going to keep me more likely to keep me on target, right? And rather than hoping for the best, if I'm doing exactly the same thing as I always have been doing, should I expect any difference in the outcome? No, right? So in order to have a different outcome, I have to have a different action. So let's first figure out the measures here. And you see here that, so we have the key result area. So these are the outcome measures, the things that your goals. And we're going to figure out how frequently we need to measure and how we're going to collect it. And then we're also going to identify what type of measure it is. So let's start with My key result area, the first one we talked about was weight, right? So I'm going to type in weight, put that in pounds. That's going to be in pounds. How frequently? Well, that's easy to do. I could do that daily. That's one. How am I going to do that? Well, I'm just going to get on the scale in my bathroom. All right, so then that's one. Oh, and then what kind of measure is that? What kind of measure is weight? Is it noir? This noir. Remember what noir stands for? The acronym? The types of data? Ratios are nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. Right. So ratio, as you recall, I'll go back to the slide when we talked about this. Remember this slide? Right. So, oops. The two types of quantitative data, or actually, I should go back here. Remember that there was two types of data. There's qualitative and quantitative, and they are related to one another. The cause and effect diagram that you've done is a form of qualitative data, right? You're thinking about what are the qualities that are going to lead to the outcome that you're trying to get to. And you can quantify those things. This is what we're doing. Quantitative data are then broken down into two different categories. There's discrete, so like whole objects or whole things, and then there's continuous, where you can have, fraction of things. You can measure those things differently. And so when you look at discrete and continuous, the discrete data are nominal. What's nominal mean? What's an example of nominal data? Name, nom, is that Latin? I don't know. How do you say name in Spanish? Nombre. Okay, so think of it as name. Nombre. Nominal. N-O-M. So it's things like colors, gender, race. Those are things that don't have a numerical value as higher. It's just something that you would classify into groups. So that's nominal data. Ordinal is kind of the next level up, right? So it's we can't say that one color has a higher order than any other color, but we could say things like your grade in school, right? A freshman, sophomore, they're one level. We can distinguish between them, and one is greater than the other, right? You have more years of experience with each level. So that's ordinal data. Interval data are things like, for fitness, it could be the number of steps that you take. I suppose that might be ratio, or it could be temperature. It just means that there's not necessarily an absolute zero. It just means that there's an equal number of portions that can be measured. Interval data might be a thing like how many notches on my belt loop do I need to tighten my belt, right? So if it's 3, that means that I'm in shape. If it's 2 or 1, I'm out of shape, right? Or if I have to buy a new belt, I have to go to the Husky section and buy a new belt, then that's a different story. And then ratio is something that you would measure like weight itself or the number of calories burned, because there is an absolute zero. So that's why nominal, ordinal, and interval ratio noir. Going back to our measures here, what kind of measure is weight? Ratio. So I'm going to type in ratio. Awesome. And then I'm going to measure fitness. That's kind of a hard thing to measure. I went and looked up. There are many different ways to measure fitness. How do you measure fitness? What are some ways that you can measure? There's a ton of things. What do you think, Austin? Okay. How winded you are when you walk up the stairs, right? It's Oh, the yeah, how much weight you can lift. That could be a thing. Okay, so that'd be one way to measure it. Um, I'm gonna measure. What's that? The BMI, right? Yeah, so those things that you could. Crunch Fitness has those little metal prods that you hold on to, and it sends electrical current through your body and figures out how much body fat you have in you. I'm going to measure it sort of a simple way because I do something when I go to the gym. I ride the stationary bicycle, and it has you can it'll measure your heart rate, and it'll also measure the number of calories that you're burning, and then also obviously how much time you're riding the bike. So one way to measure fitness is the number of calories that you burn in a certain period of time. Like, you can go for all out intensity, but I usually ride the bike for 20 or 30 minutes. And so I'll just measure how many calories I burn, right? If I burn 400 calories in a 30-minute episode session versus 300 calories, then I'm in effect being, more fit. Um, with burning more calories in the same amount of time. So I'm just going to measure fitness that way. Maybe it's not the best way. So I'm going to just put that in as calories per minute because I can calculate that easily. And I'll do that. Oh, I'm going to try to do it daily. I don't go to the gym I don't ride the bike every day, but so I'm going to ride stationary bicycle and record calories burned per minute. And that's calories is also a ratio. And then yes, I will down here. I'm going to record calorie intake. I'm going to try to record calorie intake. And then I'm going to make an easy one. I'm going to do my belt size here. I don't know if I'm not going to see changes daily, so I'll record that weekly. And the number of notches on my belt loop. I'm going to call that interval. And I don't have 5 measures for the outcome. So these are the measures that I'm going to use to see, to track my progress on these changes that I'm going to make down here. So um, one of the things, so these are the outcomes and these are the cause variables. So I'm going to identify those as well. And one thing that I'm going to do is exercise, right? So I'm going to burn calories. So I'm going to record that. So I'm going to just put here exercise type. And I like to swim. I go to the gym, lift weights, I ride bike, whatever it is. I'm just going to record that. I'm going to do that daily. All these are going to be daily. And how am I going to do that? I'm just going to write down swim versus gym versus bike, what I did. And those are all, they don't have any value. One's greater than the other, so those are nominal data. And then I'm trying to cut down on fast food, so I'm just going to count the number of fast food meals, actually restaurant meals per day. Obviously, it's daily, and I kind of did that. I suppose that's interval data. I have another KPI. So going back here, we had all these cutting down a number of meals eaten out. So cutting down on sugar, carbs. So I can measure that as well. So I can say I usually do it like every night after dinner. So I'll eat a dessert. So I'll just put number of late night desserts. Do you spell dessert with one, two? Number of late night desserts. And record that daily. I'm going to say interval. And what else do I have here? Less time to cook. So I can record did I make number of home cooked meals, I suppose?
So really your key performance indicators are your solution.
Yes.
Your key result areas are like the root causes.
The key result area are the outcome of your solution. So like whatever it is you're trying to improve. Yeah. So I have a few more of these, but we'll do these for right now. Well, let's do one. Let's type in real quick. So portion control. And calories burned per day. There you go. So I'm going to measure that. And all these are going to be daily. So I'll just record, drag this down. That's all I have for right now. So I'm going to get rid of these. All right, so now I have my key result areas and my key performance indicators. So I've identified the kind of measures, how am I going to collect them. Let's see, we'll figure out the measure types later. But right now what I want to do is now create the database. So I am going to copy just the ones that I'm interested in for the key result areas in the worksheet, and then I'm going to paste it in the data worksheet. So we have a blank worksheet here. I'm going to put it here in column B because I'm going to need to put something in column A. But before you paste it, we're going to paste it in a special way because we want to flip the data so that it's, going down, so it's going across. And there's a way to do that without having to retype it and move things around, right? If I just did paste, it would look like this, but I want it to go this way. So I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to click on the down arrow. And in the paste section, there's tons of ways to paste things. But if you notice one right here, it looks like the cells are being flipped. That's what we're doing. So that's called transposing the data. So I'm going to click on transpose. Oops. Sorry. Go back over here. Data. I am going to transpose the data. And see, now it's going across. Although we can't see everything because we have a lot of text here. So what I'm going to do in order to fix this text, it's all highlighted, B1 through E1. If I right click on it and go down to Format Cells and click on Alignment, you guys remember this from one of the modules? I can change it to 90 degrees or whatever degree you want it to be. All right, so that makes it look a little better. So now we have our variables. I call them variables because these are also the same. They're also the same thing as measures. So yeah, so copy from B1 to B3. Yep. Or B4. Yep. And then pasting it sideways using the transpose function. So here we have our variables here, and the other thing that we're going to do is we're going to collect this information mostly on a daily basis. So I'm going to type in date over here, And in my case, I started it last week. I don't have all the data yet. I still have to fill it in, but I know my weight. Um, so last Sunday, I started a week ago from from last night. So it's 2/2/2019. So I typed that in, and we're going to be collecting data through April. So I'm just going to drag the date. Remember, it'll automatically fill in the information. You can see it all the way down till I see it getting to April 30th, I suppose. We may go beyond that. We'll see. All right, so I have a potential of 89 data points to collect, 89 days. For your project, you're going to need a minimum of 30 data points. So you don't need to collect data every single day. But I'm just putting it here for the days that I do collect it. So now I have my little database to collect my outcomes. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. And we have variables here. I'm going to center these. All right, so on 2/2, that was Sunday, it was 227. I forget what it went down to. So I will be filling these in every day, and then fitness, I'm gonna have to go back. Like I rode the exercise bicycle the other day, and it was 410 calories in 30 minutes. So I just have to divide 400 by 30, and I'll get calories per minute. Yes,
Now, for
Augie.
like belt, you said you're doing weekly. Would you just kind of pick a certain day in the week, like say like a Friday, and then
Yeah,
you only fill out every
yeah,
Friday?
exactly. Yep.
Okay, and then you just leave the other ones blank.
Just leave the other ones blank. That's okay. It's okay to leave some days blank if you don't have data. All right, so now I have the cause variables ready to go. Now I need to get, I mean, not the outcome variables ready to go. Now I have to get the cause variables. So I'm going to go back to my measures and do the same thing. So I'm just going to copy the key performance indicators. In my case, it's B9 to B15. I'm going to go to the database. I'm going to put a little space between those two. So I'm going to put it in cell G and then go to, whoops, copy and paste transpose. And then I'm going to right click on these to get to the format cells. Alignment is going to be 90 degrees. Click OK. And now we have a list of key performance indicators. So on this Sunday, I went that past Sunday. What did I do? I went to the gym. So I'm just going to type in gym. Did I have any fast food? I don't remember. I'll just put 1. And yeah, I ate dessert that night. I'm going to put yes. I had 2 home cooked meals. Portion control, no. Calories burned per day. By the way, I'm going to, it's okay to start with, you don't have to start with already being there, right? You should start with, in my case, a low baseline, right? So, and then the idea is to get better over time. And so I'm going to ask you to collect a week's worth of data without really making any changes actually initially to start. So it's kind of what I'm doing here. So this was 400 calories. So I'm going to make this an equation. So it was make it equals 400 divided by 30. And so I don't know what this means. This is, I guess, calories per minute. That's a level of fitness. So we'll see how this measure does. And we'll be collecting this information over time, and you'll see we're going to put them in a line chart and then a run chart, pivot tables, and things. We'll do all kinds of manipulation to see what's actually going on with your data. But right now, I just want you to get from your kind of qualitative situation and moving into a quantitative state of affairs. So I want you to start set up your database. That'll be your assignment for this Sunday night, is to have your database set up and maybe a few days of data in there. So let me stop here and see if you guys have any questions. Yes, question. Oh. How did I flip it? So when the transpose, so I did it by here. I'll do it to a new database. So I did it by copying just the three that I want, the variables that I have. If you have five, you would copy all five. If you have two, you would just copy two. You should try to have a couple of outcome measures. In this case, I'm just going to copy these. So now it's in the copy mode. I'm going to go to my um, new worksheet here. I'm going to put it in this cell. And over here, this paste button, there's a down arrow. And I go to transpose. Oh, sorry. And then it puts it here. So instead of going down like it is here, it puts them sideways. And then the way that I change the orientation of these, I want to let me. I'm in some kind of weird mode here. In order to change the orientation of these, why is this not letting me? All right, so sorry, you need to highlight those, and then I right-clicked on them, and then went to Format Cells, and then you have to be on the Alignment tab, and then over here I want to make it 90 degrees, so I just drag this on up till it got to 90 degrees, and I click OK, and then they come to 90 degrees. All this will be recorded, so you can go back and look at it later. But thank you for asking the question. Any other questions? All right, so I'm going to stop the recording.